Okay, the first kind of thing we need to be able to do with correlation and regression is to work out the product moment correlation coefficient, pmcc, which we call by the value of r. So where do I get r from? There are two ways to do it. One is to just use a table of data and your calculator, but there's also this formula. Now this is not on page 17 of the formula book, I think it's page 13 of the formula book. Okay, so this particular question is a bit weird because you wouldn't normally be given both the table of data and the summary statistics. So what we're going to do actually is do this two completely separate ways. We're going to do it from the table and from the summary statistics. So table method. So we just need to go into stats mode, but there's a change from the previous work you've done, and from now on you need to be really careful when you go into stats mode. So press 6, we've got the choice between 1var, which is what we've used up to now for means, standard deviations, quartiles and so on, and y equals ax plus b, which is what we use for correlation and regression. And then 3 onwards we never ever use in the statistics course. So we now have to do, because we're doing correlation, we now have to do 2, y equals a plus bx. But when you go back to working out means and standard deviations, go back to 1var. So now we can see we need an x and a y for each observation, because with bivariate data, we've got 2 features of everything. So we don't know what x and y are, but x might be, say, the height of something, and y might be its weight, and I might be expecting there to be some kind of relationship between x and y for each item. So I just put the x values into my first column and the y values into the second column. So for the first one, x is 1 and y is 3. Now it's a bit awkward to enter them both at the same time because it's easy to go down the x column and the y column. But you'll see that when I put those in, then automatically it puts in a frequency of 1, and that will hardly ever change from 1. The frequency column is doing no harm, but you don't actually have to use it as such. Okay, so I'm going to take, that was the first pair of values, 1 and 3. I'm going to enter these other x values and the other y values onto the calculator. There I go. And to do calculations, I press AC to get off that screen, and I press Option. And now, for things like the product moment correlation coefficient, I want the regression calculation screen, so I press 3, and it's telling me my values. Now, be very careful with the print on this screen. These things we can see are equal signs, but sometimes it puts in a minus as well, which is quite small, and sometimes people miss that minus. Don't let that happen to you. In this particular case, I've just got r equals 0.7567, and remember, we always give 3 significant figures minimum. Okay, so if you put 0.76 for this, you're throwing away marks. We need to be saying r equals 0.775, and then 67 rounds to 7 again. So r equals 0.757 to 3 significant figures, and that was using the table method. So the table method from the calculator gives us that. But of course the other method is to use the formula. From page 13 of the formula book you can look it up and get this. Okay, so from the formula all I've got to do is put the given values of sxy on the top. So sxy is 39.5 over the square root of sxx times syy. So inside the square root I need 42 times 64.875. Put them into full accuracy and enter that onto your calculator. So AC. Now, in statistics mode, the fraction button doesn't really work very nicely. So I'm going to go back into mode 1. So I can use the fraction button to put 39.5 on the top. I've used this fraction button here. 39.5 over the square root of whatever values it was, 42 times the other one, which was 64.875, inside the square root. So it looks exactly like the formula I wrote out. Press equals, and lo and behold, I get the same value of r, 0.757. So normally you don't have the option. You either get given the table and you use the calculator method in stats mode, or you get given these values and you use the formula from page 13. Hope that helps.